Allie here to give you an update on all the big wins from this past week by our great Run Pure Sports hosts and members. Our guy Uncle Dunkle led the charge with over 40K in NFL winnings for week 16. Huge congrats to longtime RPS member D-Rock for his 24K NBA hit on Christmas. The Lil Jordan Humphrey love was strong in the Discord on Monday and led to some huge wins on the Showdown slate. Surprise, surprise, BigT had another big night, pulling in over 100K across sites on the Dolphins Saints Showdown slate. This was just a few days after shipping another 150K in NBA. BigT wasn't the only one repping Run Pure Sports with a big hit. Shout out to Quick on to Cribs, who also took down 24K on Monday's NFL Showdown slate. Meanwhile, Tway Rich hit for over 35K across sites, and Joseph Swartz shipped 215K on DraftKings. The wins just keep piling up in the RPS universe, which could only mean one thing. There is no better time to join than right now. We've recently teamed with SaberSim to offer a great deal on a combo subscription where you can access all of our content and their great optimizer and projection system for one low price. Head on over to runpuresports.com to get the deal now and start running pure with us.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood Show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm here with Hoop. I'm here with DC. Hoop has the nice little hairdo going on. We got a nice big NBA slate. I mean, this is the Tuesday crew. You're used to like a 3 or 4 gamer, a lot of BS, but we might have to be strictly business here. And you guys better be strictly business in the chat and hit that like button because, we'll pull the plug on those plays on this Tuesday show. But Hoop, how is it going? How are you doing? And how are you feeling about the NBA slate tonight?
Yeah, usually we only get like 3 or 4 games here on Tuesday. We got 8 games tonight, which is a pleasant surprise. We don't have as much time to bullshit around, but we'll find our opportunities to get our chit chat in. Good slate. I mean, like always, there's a lot of news, and there's probably going to be more that breaks up the lock. One standalone game at 7 p.m. Eastern. Then we got a couple 7:30s, so you can buy yourself some time by potentially fading at least that early game, which I don't think is the worst idea in the world. But we'll talk about it all when we break down the slate. But looking forward to it for sure.
Yep, should be a fun slate. DC, we'll head on over to you. How is the holidays? Did Santa get you what you wanted? Also, did you have a list of things at the table on Christmas Day to talk about, like Thanksgiving? I'm sure that people want to know how things are going for you.
No, I give, I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers on Christmas. Thanksgiving, that's free reign, but Christmas, try to keep it in check. Things are good, quieting down a little bit right after the holiday season, at least over here, which I am thankful for myself. Not so many family activities, every night, but things are good. Good 8-game slate here. Of course, we still got the COVID stuff going around. I mean, does every team have at least one player on there? It certainly seems like it, if not. But we were talking before the show, I think, maybe we're kind of coming out the other side of this because it's been through pretty much every team. And then also, it seems like they're relaxing some of the guidelines. We're seeing players come back at times when they previously wouldn't have been able to. It's very difficult to keep track of all the rules of when they can and cannot come back. So you just got to, when they rule someone out, you adjust, and then sometimes they roll them back in. But by the time the slate rolls around, we typically know 99% who's going to be in, who's out. Obviously, you get occasionally a super surprise late scratch after the game locks, but that's rare. So they make for some fun slates. It's been a profitable, crazy but profitable month with all this COVID stuff, and we'll keep it going.
Yeah, and with the holidays ending, we got NFL playoffs coming up, DC. And I'll give you some next holiday advice. The next holiday is Valentine's Day, DC. I don't know if you know this. It's a bit of a different year. Super Bowl is on Sunday. Valentine's Day, it's on the 14th. So, plan something for, like, instead of getting stuck doing something Sunday during the Super Bowl, plan something on Friday night. That's some dating advice for you.
Okay, can you remind me February 12th of that again? Thanks. That would be helpful.
Make a reservation, DC. Make a reservation now. Be ahead of everyone else. Hoop, I'm sure he'll be on it. He's got the hair gel out, so we know when the hair gel's out, he's probably doing something for the wife. So we talked about this on the NFL show. So I figure with the holidays and with Hoop with the hair gel.
I do appreciate that. Yeah, but I'll need another reminder.
We'll give you another reminder. Don't worry. But playoffs is going to be fun. Super Bowl is going to be fun. Hoop, because playoffs are coming up, right? And we got Big T on the heater, right? Now's the best time to sign up. Do we have a code right now? I don't know if we have a code going on. I'm on vacation, so I might be out of the loop. But is there any code to sign up right now?
I mean, the people, we gave them that, it was about 8 days to take advantage of that Sabre 15, where any package with, RPS and Sabre combined gets you 15% off for life. Unfortunately, now people have to pay the full price tag, but it's still a great deal. You can get Run Pure content. You can get Sabre Sim content, like I talked about on the show earlier. Big T's on a heater. And what Big T does at Run Pure, he puts his entire player pool up on the website, which is part of our content here at Run Pure Sports. So you can get Big T's player pool as well. And Big T runs super hot. I called it on the Sunday show. I said he was going to win a shit ton on Sunday. Well, I whiffed. I mean, I think he did all right on Sunday, but the next day, I believe, yesterday he crushed again. He's hot right now. You want Big T's plays. That's part of the Run Pure sports package.
Yeah. Before we dive in more, we'll talk about the members and everyone, but DC, we got to get to this because this is a callback to the Sunday show. June Yoya says DC should take his lady to see Hamilton on Friday.
Oh no, we're not doing this again, are we? I know DC's side of this. DC's definitely on the right side of this one.
Yeah. I got to get DC's side. Where do you stand?
We're not going to any Broadway plays.
Yes.
I did interestingly, I was listening to the conversation. I think that was yesterday. I was laughing at the Broadway show talk. We had AP on Christmas Day. He went to see West Side Story. That's even worse because it's like a movie that is like supposed to be a play, right? It's like like a musical that's a movie. Like it's combining like the worst of the two mediums. So yeah, that won't be happening. My mom texted me that she saw it with my father and said how good it was and that I needed to go. And I was like, no, that's just not going to be a thing that's happening. I'm very scared of Omicron, so I won't be going to a movie theater. I can't risk it. So yeah, I'll be staying home from that.
We can't afford for DC to go on the RPS health and safety protocol. we need them too badly. We can't risk it.
Well, I don't think me and DC are going to any Colorado Hamilton shows anytime soon together, but Omicron, we got to watch out for that. Obviously, it's very, very deadly going around in the NBA as well. But hey, before we dive into the games, there's a lot to talk about, but I do want to talk about all the members here. We had members win over $1.9 million last week. Dunkel won $40K. Big T won $150K in the NFL Showdown, where, hey, if you tailed him, you definitely did pretty well yesterday. Quick on the cribs, $24K in NFL. Hoop, you read these on the last show, and these are some tough names to read this week.
Yeah, aren't they?
This one is like Tuia Rich, like T. I don't even know how to say this one. This is a tough one to read here.
And I do like I want to know the meaning behind the quick on the cribs. I really want to know like where that comes from. Quick on, is he a real estate agent? Maybe like he flips houses real quick. Oh, maybe that's it.
Could
right?
Be.
Quick on the cribs. I bet he's a realtor.
That could be the case, or maybe he pops babies out. He's quick on pulling out those kids. And
very true. Yeah, that's possible too. Yeah, I really want to know. I'm curious now.
It could be Josh Jacobs. Who knows? We know he's got 9 of them at age like 23. So it could be quick on the cribs. D-Rock won $24K in NBA. Big T won $100K in NBA, and then Joseph Schwartz $215K in the NFL. So tons and tons of winners over here at Run Pure Sports. So sign up now, get in on that. We got all the sports for one price, but we're going to move on and talk about the NBA slate because Tuesday crew, we're not used to this. We're not used to having so many games. So we're gonna have to try and power through this. So hit that like and hit that subscribe so we don't have to say it again. That way we can breeze through these games. Let's move on and talk about the Bucks and the Magic. Hoop, 215.5 total here in this game. The Magic have been a team that we have been targeting, but I don't think it's a great slate to target too many of them. I don't mind RJ Hampton for cheap. I think he's okay. The Bucks side too. I just think that's like a full on fade. Like, yeah, sure. You can always make an argument. Giannis as a spend up is interesting, but I think this is one of the better games to just say, hey, it starts at 7:00. Let's just, maybe you just grab dinner now, right after the show. You come back, you eat your takeout, and then you just, the slate locks at 7:30 and just kind of move on from there. Cause that's not a bad way to approach it, in my opinion, on this slate.
Yeah, I mean, you really want to limit your exposure to this game one, it's just not a great DFS game. A very lopsided matchup. Bucks Magic, a 14.5, 15-point total. Those typically aren't the greatest for DFS purposes. Yes, you can, like you said, you can always play Giannis. If Giannis scored 70 fantasy points, would I be shocked? Absolutely not. But if that happens, I'm probably losing because I'm not going to play him. And then on the Magic side, the only one I'm going to play would be Hampton. 3.2K on DK, played 32 minutes, 30 fantasy points, full punt. Fine playing him, but man, you don't want to be deep into this game. Gonna have news that breaks after this. I'm sure we might not have all the news when this game locks. The Timberwolves situation is super important. So that's an hour after this. If we don't have the Timberwolves news, it's really hard to play guys here. So just RJ Hampton on DK for me here.
I lagged for a second, but DC, let's head on over to you and talk about this game because great points were brought up by Hoop. That Timberwolves game is definitely a key one, and there's a lot of news today. So I think this is a good game to stay away from. Yeah, I mean, RJ Hampton's fine, but I don't want to prioritize these guys in this game. So what are you doing here with the Bucks and the Magic?
Yeah, we've seen a couple big games out of RJ Hampton, but primarily when they were like completely out of playmakers. Now they got that Gravett guy who's not a good player, but he is a point guard. More so than RJ Hampton is. So that worries me a little bit with Hampton, but still 3,200. I get it. I was looking a little bit at Mo Wagner, not Franz Wagner, who's the expensive one at 7,200, but Mo Wagner back from the COVID list. They're still missing Mo Bamba. Wagner will be coming off the bench most likely, but I think could be out there for garbage time. And at 3,100, power forward is a little bit of a difficult position to fill, I think, on DraftKings. So maybe as a punt, but you don't really want to lock a marginal value play on this slate from the very first game. That's not a good game anyway. So I'll probably end up trying to steer clear of that if I can.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to steer clear of it. It could be very, it could just be very, very concerning on this slate if you lock into some guys and you could just be drawing dead, in my opinion. It could be really ugly. So I said we head on over to the next game and let's talk about the Sixers and the Raptors. And another game, I'm just okay, do I really want to play many guys from this game? Yeah, you can make the argument that Embiid is an interesting pivot off of a Jokic on this slate. But if I do fade Jokic, you know why I want to fade Jokic? I want to fade him for maybe one of these value centers, or I want to fade him for another value play, not take up a really expensive center spot. I just think that's not the right way to do it. If I fade Jokic, the reason I fade Jokic isn't because, I just make a direct pivot from one guy to the other because I think Jokic can bust. No, I think it's because I want a different construction than other people. That's how I would do the fade. So I don't really like going to Embiid too much here. And then the Raptors side, it's just a bit dicey. I think you can make arguments for Wannabe's okay. And Boucher has some upside at his price, even though Siakam is back. There's Gary Trent there now. So he's okay. But I just think that this is a good game again to say I don't think you need guys in this game, Hoop. And also on top of it, I think it could mess me up if I lock guys in this game. What's the difference between a guy in this game and a guy at maybe the 8:00 game that's a contrarian guy, or a guy at the 9:00 game that's a contrarian guy? That's my big issue here. I honestly think for me, I don't want to play anyone in these first two games. How about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you. especially you look at the positions these guys play. Center is loaded tonight, and it could get even more loaded based on some of the news. I just don't think I can't. Well, I know I'm not going to play Embiid at 12-1 on DraftKings. I can't do that. But on the other side, I like Siakam as a play, but he's only center eligible, and he's 9.4K. I'm not doing that. Siakam is 7-8 on FanDuel. I think definitely in play there, a viable option. 9.4, I'm not doing that. Boucher is 6.2. Not doing that. He's 5.5 on FanDuel. I'd have some interest there. Tobias Harris at 9K. He's 7.2 on FanDuel. I think in play on FanDuel, but none of these guys are priorities. Definitely can't play any of them on DK. Marginal, mediocre plays, I think on FanDuel. But I am, especially if we don't have the news, I'm definitely going to be off this game too.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. And of course, if news hits, right, like things change. Like, I'm definitely will be on some guys. If you tell me Embiid's out, well, of course, I'm going to look at some of these Sixers and consider rostering them. DC, how about you? Is this a game that you want to get some exposure to, or are you just saying, hey, let's move on to the next game and figure out the better spots here on this slate?
Yeah, I mean, early on in the day, I was looking at Toronto pretty closely because they're just missing so many guys from COVID, but they got Siakam and Gary Trent back and maybe one other guy. So they've got enough guys to, to fill the minutes. And it's not like you're getting a discount on Trent or Siakam at all. So, yeah, I'm not going there. Embiid, I maybe have a little bit more interest than you two guys do, but as again, early game, you got to prefer Joker, and there are some spend ups at other positions I like a little bit more, whereas we do have value centers on the slate. So roster construction wise, I'm not sure it makes sense to make the contrarian pivot to Embiid here. I don't mind it if you do, but not going to be for me. And I don't really anticipate having much from this game at all outside of, Tobias Harris on FanDuel, 7,200 if you need that spot filled. By that forward spot filled, which can be tough. Yeah, he should be pretty safe there. But overall, not a game I will have much exposure to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have too much else to say about this one. I get it. You could even make the argument if you play like some Raptors, maybe you do run it back with a Sixer. I think that can make sense. DC, do you agree? Like if you did play two Raptors, would you run it back with an Embiid, or would you just say, I might just rather Jokic?
Yeah, I definitely don't think you need to in this situation. I mean, in these COVID slates, I've been much less focused on kind of like running back game stacks, because you just got to take the value when it presents itself for the most part. So if you wanted to go that way, but I think the Raptors players are going to be contrarian already by themselves. So it's not like you need to include a run back to try to be more contrarian than that. Just, I wouldn't think it would be necessary.
All right, totally fair. Let's go to the next game. And again, another 7:30 start, but this is where I start seeing guys and I'm like, okay, I can have some interest in some options. It just depends on where the chips fall. Like we already have Montrezl Harrell out. Do we have Bradley Beal out? Because he's questionable and this news matters. And I think it matters because I think Spencer Dinwiddie becomes a really good play. I mean, they're already really shorthanded. You can even make a case that Kyle Kuzma is going to chuck up some more shots. It's not a great matchup for him, but he's going to put up more shots. I mean, Daniel Gafford at 4.7. Yes, center is deep today, but Daniel Gafford could see massive run. And if the game does stay close, I don't hate him here on this spot. I like Dinwiddie the most here on the Wizard side. And then on the Heat side, I think Jimmy Butler makes sense as a spend up small forward option because it does feel like the small forward position is not great today. He's 9.3K. So you can make an argument that his raw points on a COVID type of slate where you have a lot of value could easily just be a easy plug and play. He kind of felt like a Jaylen Brown yesterday where, okay, he's expensive, but there are guys out and it just fits and, helps for raw points and makes sense at the position. And then I think Yurt7 is another play that's really good at 4.8K. And DC, you liked Yurt7 not too long ago when Dedmon was in there, and now there's no Dedmon. So we ought to go to you because you are big on Yurt7. And I want to get your thoughts on the Wizards with the Bradley Beal situation and what you think with Spencer Dinwiddie.
I mean, Yurt7's just been performing. I mean, anytime he gets minutes, he puts up a good game. You've got Dedmon out. Obviously, they lost Adebayo previously to that. Morris is out. Even Udonis Haslem, who played as believe it or not, Yurt7's direct backup in the last game, he's out. Now, they could get PJ Tucker back for this game, and that's going to make a big difference for me in my interest level in Yurt7, because if they get Tucker back, then Miami can go small, right? You put Tucker at the 5. That actually also would lower my interest in Gafford himself, because then you get Tucker at the 5 for the Heat. Washington could put Bertans there or Avdija there. So I think Tucker kind of maybe quietly has a big impact on where I want to go in this game. But if he's out, man, if Yurt7's going to play big minutes and so is Gafford, I kind of think those two are a little bit tied together, which is weird to say, kind of two, traditional type centers. But I wouldn't be surprised if this game goes small. And I think that's much more likely to happen if Miami has the option to put PJ Tucker at the 5. So that would concern me for Yurt7. But if Tucker is out, Yurt7 a really tough fade for me at 4,800. I like Gafford on the other side. Dinwiddie, obviously dependent on Bradley Beal. And then I think both Jimmy Butler and Tyler Hero are pretty solid plays here. So a game that I'll be watching the news on this one because the way I approach this game and my exposure to the players in this game is going to depend a lot on PJ Tucker being in and out. Not that I'm playing PJ Tucker himself, but it'll change for me if he's in there.
Yeah, Hoop, I'll go over to you because I think this is a game that we need to have some interest in, but you can make an argument. It starts at 7:30. What if you don't have the news or things are uneasy? Maybe you just kind of move off and say, let me buy 30 more minutes because maybe some of these guys aren't absolute stone locks. I mean, if Beal's out, though, it definitely makes some of these Wizards really intriguing and makes the situation interesting. So give me your take here on this game because I think it depends on some of the news later on and where we're at when we're like looking at the slate. And then I also think it depends on who's in and out in this game because that could matter.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, obviously on the Wizards side, Bradley Beal. I mean, if Beal's in, I don't think you really play any Wizards on the slate. If he's out, they're without Harrell too, so you have to look at Dinwiddie, Kuzma maybe a little bit, Gafford, and then this Kispert guy is 3.6K on FanDuel. He would come in the conversation a little bit, but if Beal's in, probably not playing any of these guys. And then on the Miami side, Jimmy Butler's in a phenomenal spot with all these guys out. Lowry's out as well. Hero had a couple good games not too long ago. He's still reasonably priced. I mean, you look at this roster, it's going to be Jimmy Butler, it's going to be Tyler Hero. We've seen Butler in this situation many times, like coming back from injuries. He gets right back into it rather quickly. And we saw that the other night, 40 some fantasy points. So really like Butler, 9.3 on DK, 8.5 on FanDuel, both fine price tags. And then Jurvetson, I mean, and if PJ Tucker's in, there is some concern there because they have played PJ Tucker at the 5 quite a bit, but this guy still has a good price tag. And, either way, you have to imagine he gets like at least 25-ish minutes. And he's been able to produce in short periods of time this season. So I like him, I think, either way. But, if Tucker's not in there, really, really strong play. But, yeah, like you said, what you do with this game, it depends on the news, and it depends on what news we have at this point. So it's a very vital game, I think, for this slate.
Yeah, I mean, this game definitely matters. It's not one I'm totally ignoring, but I do think I want to get some exposure to it. I don't got too much else to say, though. DC, anything else that you want to add here? Like Daniel Gafford at 4.7, center's a little deep, but like, is he someone that you could consider? Because I don't hate him here on most slates. I think I would like him, but he's just kind of feels like he's kind of falling like just on the side. He's just someone I don't need to jam into my lineups.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer Yurt7 to Gafford at that same price tag if Tucker is out. If Tucker's in, I think it's closer. But yeah, Gafford, I mean, listen, they're out. This team is very, very thin right now. Like they don't have a lot of big men really at all that they're willing to play. Gafford, to me, I mean, he's a younger player. He does strike me as someone who could give you 38 minutes, right? Like if things are going well for him. So I think there's upside there for Gafford. Someone I'll probably end up having some exposure to. But yeah, obviously all kind of depends on how the news breaks. And I mean, even guys like Advija, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but and Bertans, I mean, they're so thin at the 3, 4, 5 that you're going to see those guys out there. I think 30 plus minutes a piece. They're both very cheap. And I wouldn't be surprised to see one of those two, make 5 or 6 3-pointers. If they do that, they're probably going to be a pretty good play. So an interesting game for sure, depending on all the news, of course.
All right, let's move on to the next game. We got almost 500 watching, 174 likes. So get those likes up. Again, helps us out a ton, and subscribe to the channel. That way you can check out all the RPS content that we have coming your way. Even though COVID is here, listen, we are not going to go under the health and safety protocols. We are not going to see Hamilton the musical, DC. We'll be here grinding and bringing you guys the content that you need. So subscribe to the channel to get notified when we go live. Let's move on to talk about the next game. Let's talk about the Lakers, and let's talk about the Houston Rockets. And man, this is a game that I think is good, right? Like if you tell me the Lakers, if you say the Lakers, they're 5.5 favorites. If you tell me that they are going to be in a battle and they win by 6, like I want to play some Lakers. I want to play LeBron James, but there are reasons to think this game could blow out. Like Jalen Green, I don't think he helps this team that much. It's the second night of a back-to-back for the Houston Rockets, which can be concerning. And on top of that, like I just don't know if I want to spend that price tag on LeBron at 11-3. I think I want to because he's been amazing, but I do have some pause because if you do spend up for a guy and he doesn't get that last rotation on these type of COVID slates where the scoring is just absolutely through the roof, I mean, if LeBron at 11-3, if he doesn't get you like the 60 fantasy points you need, like, I don't know how I feel about rostering him. So DC, I'll talk about it with you because I think that this game is one that it starts at 8 and there's a lot of them that start at 8 and there are some good plays. Like, I think you can make an argument that there are some Rocket guys like David Nwaba at 3-4, I think is a decent value. You can make an argument that Christian Wood has upside at that price and could easily have a good game, but I don't want to slam guys in from this game. I think there are good values here, but there's not just like, it's not like the game stack of the slate.
Yeah, don't play Josh Christopher. What a bum that guy was yesterday for DC's lineups. Houston, though, getting a couple guys back here, right? A couple key guys, Kevin Porter, Jalen Green, both going to play in this game. Those are their two kind of main dudes. When those guys are in there, I don't have interest in Nwaba and Eric Gordon and Christopher. You've got just everyone's kind of off the table for me for Houston. But I will say, I mean, you're talking about the Lakers blowing out Houston. One, this is in Houston. They got a couple of their key guys back. And two, well, Lakers have lost 5 straight games. It's not like this is some juggernaut team, I'm not worried about the Lakers blowing them out. Sure, it could happen. And just given the kind of position scarcity, like there's so many point guards I want to play. When I build in rosters, like those guard spots, usually one's going in utility or it's a center in the utility. And it's the forward spots that I'm having a little bit trouble finding guys that I, excited to play. So LeBron James is kind of making his way, it seems, into a lot of my lineups because he can fill that power forward spot. It's a fantastic matchup, right? Against the Rockets. I mean, playing big minutes, performing every night. Obviously, no Anthony Davis. So I do. I don't feel great about it, but just how I'm building my lineups, I do find myself landing on LeBron James a decent bit. And yeah, I mean, not the worst place to be, right? I'm good with it.
Yeah. And I do think the power forward position is a bit rough today. Like
that's what I'm saying.
Again, yeah. It's not the best position. Like I think the weakest spots are power forward and small forward on the slate. Yep. And speaking of a power forward, Elise Johnson is going to be heading to the Miami Heat Arena. He signed a 10-day contract, and Woj says he's going to play significant minutes with them only having 3 front court players in protocol. Here's the problem. He's not in the player pool, so we really can't play Elise Johnson. So,
but we can still react to that because I said I like guys like Avdija, Bertans, Gafford. I mean, he just takes all those guys out of play, basically, right? And honestly, I'm kind of thankful for it. It's like kind of almost a clarifying thing for me where I'm like, okay, now I don't have to mess around with those dudes. Yeah. I can focus on another situation.
Good point. Yeah.
And Johnson can be like a higher usage guy. Like he can definitely soak it up where it could hurt some of those other options. Like it could hurt like Corey Kispert or whatever his name is. So like, I don't know. It's definitely something to think about a little bit for sure. We can definitely react to it. Hoop, do you have any reactions on that? And then I need your reactions on, the Wash King. You used to always joke about that with BigT. He used to always call himself that, but
it's like a big made up BigT term. Like I swear he like talks about the stuff that no one else is talking about. Makes no sense.
Well, the Wash King has to be considered tonight. Cause again, I don't think power forward's great. And I think he's someone that he's in the takeover mode. It does feel like he's locking in. I don't know if he's off the social media as well, but it definitely seems like a good spot where LeBron James is a good spend up. The question is though, like, do you want to spend on LeBron on this slate, especially with someone like Jokic there? Because like, yes, you can play both. It's certainly possible, but when you do play both, you do start running out of salary, even though we have tons of value.
And you notice the coincidence. He finally started speaking truth about COVID, and he's playing good basketball. And I've been rostering him in DFS, and things have gone well. Me and LeBron are back on the same team, and I'm with him. I'm riding with him again tonight. But in all seriousness, like these are the spots that you want LeBron. And when he's playing, he knows his team's in rough shape. He's going out there. He's playing super hard. I mean, I don't like the guy personally, obviously, but he's going out there playing a ton of minutes. He knows he has to bring it every single night for this team to win games. It's somewhat embarrassing to him, I'm sure, how bad they've been this season. I'm not worried about the blowout here. They're just not a good team. And like in order to squeak by and win games, he has to go out there and play 38, 39 minutes and do everything on the court. And that's what we've seen lately. 3 out of the last 4 games, 60 fantasy points. To me, he's one of the premier spends on the slate. He's at a position that I don't like all that much, power forward, like you guys talked about. I think he is just a really strong play tonight on the slate and probably moving forward until Anthony Davis comes back. I mean, I just really view like upper 50, 60 fantasy points. I mean, 40, obviously it's Christmas game. I mean, that's a little bit different, but 40 minutes, I think we can expect him to play 37, 38, 39 minutes in close games. They just have no choice. I mean, the roster sucks. Only other option here for me would be Horton Tucker on FanDuel, 4.8K. He'll play, probably about 30 minutes. Scrappy dude. He can definitely get value, but not playing any other Lakers guys. And then like the Rockets, I mean, they need like to be super thin before I'm considering any Rockets. I mean, we saw yesterday, even like some of those value guys that seemed like slam dunks because they had no bodies. And get there. Like these guys just aren't. Yeah, exactly. They're just not very good.
Get your guys back, Rockets, so I can go back to never playing any of
Yeah. So for me, this is very clear. I love LeBron tonight as a DFS play, and then Horton Tucker on FanDuel, and that's it.
I hope the real question is, does your model account for LeBron James' birthday on December 30th? They do play the front end of a back-to-back, so I don't know if LeBron is one of those guys that he feels like a dramatic guy. He probably is a birthday week kind of guy, so maybe the birthday week narrative is in play for LeBron. Hoop, does that bump it up in your model?
You're the birthday. I mean, you gotta tell us. I mean, you're the birthday narrative guy. I mean, this is your specialty.
This is a little thin though. So it's not actually his birthday today, or you're saying
it's on the 30th.
Mangone like loves these birthday narratives so much. Like he's got them planned out for like well over a week.
I remember I was thinking about it now. I was like, LeBron, I was like, yeah, his birthday's around the holiday. And I was like, oh, it might be today. And then I looked and I was like, I just pulled up the schedule and it's on the 30th. It's the first game of back-to-back. He's got 3 and 4 nights and it's not on his birthdays.
Let me just tell you this, man. If birthday week narrative is what you need to get LeBron James in your lineups tonight, that works because he's going to be in the winners and I want you to be in the winner circle. So get him in there.
Let's get it home. But I will say LeBron does seem like a guy who probably celebrates it all week long. He's dramatic, right? The Wash King narrative, it's definitely someone that probably celebrates it, but he's a great play. Here's one question I'll ask you, DC. This is a tough one. If I told you, hey, you're building a lineup tonight and you have to pick, it's either Jokic or LeBron. You can only play one. You're not allowed to play both. Who would you take? I mean, I think I lean LeBron, as crazy as it sounds.
I would take Jokic to score more fantasy points than LeBron, but the answer to that question is LeBron is the one that I would choose to play. Yep.
I agree with what you said. Do you agree or disagree, Hoop? Because it's a tough call. Obviously, you can play both, but it is definitely a debate you can make on this thing.
Center's loaded. I mean, it's a position thing. I gotta side with Mangone tonight and say positions do matter because center is loaded. For this argument only, I'm saying positions matter, and center's just loaded, and it could get even more loaded. So I really think I want to leave those spots open.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a tough one.
I'm on your side, Hoop, on the position. Like on most slates, you can
play whoever you want.
Yeah, you can.
No, that's not true.
Yes, it is. You even kind of admitted that. You said that we're kind of arguing different things, but on most slates, you go out there, you can roster the 8 or 9 guys that you want, right?
Very close to it. Very close. Yep. Always.
Come on.
Disagree, but
oh gosh, all right, start sending me messages when you're in a jam and you're like, man, I really want to play this guy and I can't do it.
All right, well, we'll start doing that. we'll start looking for those spots. But I will say, if they don't matter, Hoop, just lock in your point guard at utility to start the night. Start your night off like that. No flexibility.
Yeah, see, I'm on I mean, I'd be open to stuff like that too. I've done it before. I don't care. I mean, more times than not. I mean, I'm rolling with my dudes. Fuck late swap.
I'm open to no more late swap. I love it. Let's take a gamble and guess who's going to be in and out. I think that's
down with that.
Yeah, I'm good. Can you imagine the customer service disaster for these?
Actually, another thing I'd bring back is, would you guys bring back drop the lowest score? I enjoy drop the lowest.
Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, at first I was against it, but as the season went on, I was like, I like it because it's just another level of strategy. I actually like it.
I think it would be cool if both FanDuel and DraftKings tweak their product a little bit every new season, right? Yeah. Like you change something a little bit, just mix it up a little bit, keep it fresh, and it's because DFS is all about like adjusting to situations anyway. Give us a little tweak each season to mix it up,
Well, tweak is good. It always provides an edge. And what if FanDuel just said, "Hey, let's bring back kickers"? In football, that would just be hilarious.
Yeah, they can leave the kickers. Bad idea, Mango. No,
I mean, Hoop's a big kicker guy. Hoop, would you bring back the kicker?
I like the kickers on the Showdown because they're like free. Do not want to be forced to play kickers. No.
Fair enough. Defense is brutal, so you guys.
Defense too. That'd be cool if they just got rid of the defense.
Just add another flex. Just get rid of the defense, add a flex, and here we go.
I like it.
Here's the crazy part. Week 17 or 18, whatever's coming up. Why don't we do this? Let's just roll out no defenses with a flex and just see what happens, DK or FanDuel. Like if you're listening, let's just try it for 1 week and then just take the feedback. It's really that simple. You know who's playing late in the year? It's the grinders. It's not.
I think it would be so much more fun if DK had another QB spot, double stacks.
That would be great. That's a good point.
Just double QB.
That'd be sweet.
Well, fantasy football we've evolved much where we, people know how to play. Like put another QB spot in there. Get rid of the DST. Put a super flex spot. Idea. Let's play ball.
Love that.
Let's also not do this. Let's not do just quarterback, do super flex. So that way it could be a running back. It could be a receiver, just like college. I think it's I think it's very interesting. So I would love to see it, but that's a lot of fun. A little trip down memory lane there too, talking about some stuff from the old days. Obviously that Lakers Rockets game is not one to completely ignore, but one of the bigger games on this slate is this Knicks and Timberwolves. And DC, let's go to you to talk about the Timberwolves. Cause man, Nate Knight is like an absolute stone lock. If we get the same situation like yesterday, he's just someone you're going to slam into your lineups, but we are waiting on some news. We're waiting on to see if Ant Edwards can clear protocol. Patrick Beverley, Naz Reid. I mean, let's just say Naz Reid is the only guy who clears. Well, Naz Reid would be a really good play here. So there's a lot to really talk about and like here, DC, and you're a Timberwolves guy. So break it down for me. What are you doing with the Timberwolves and the Knicks here?
It's so dependent on the news. It's really hard to say. If we have the same situation that we had last night, which is still possible, Nathan Knight, just kind of a stone lock, looked awesome yesterday, would be a guy that you would want to put in there. You could look at Jalen Noel, who went crazy. I talked about him a bunch on the Up to Lock show. Unfortunately, didn't play him. McLaughlin is a good distributing point guard. So, again, if everybody's out for the Wolves still, then these are just incredible values. Malik Beasley, a great value. But I don't think that's going to be the case. It sounds like Patrick Beverley is probably going to be in there, which to me kind of knocks out both McLaughlin and Jalen Noel from consideration if Beverley plays. So that would clarify that situation. And then if Naz Reid is in there, and I think he's got, I assume these guys, they're cleared, right? It's just conditioning thing. That makes me think they're probably more likely to play than not. They missed like 2 games. They obviously weren't that sick. So I kind of expect these Wolves guys to be in there. That's how I'm building my initial lineups. Listen, could be wrong. I obviously don't know, but these guys are cleared to play. They can play. So that makes, Anthony Edwards, wouldn't you expect him to play if he's able to play? I certainly do. So I'm kind of thinking those guys are going to play. If that's the case, Minnesota, kind of a team that you don't even need to look at. Even Naz Reid, I don't think I would play him if he's in there because Nathan Knight showed enough last night, as did Greg Monroe, by the way, who looked really good, to make Naz Reid's minutes not totally secure. If these guys are all in, like I expect, then I think the Wolves, a very easy fade. And then on the other side, quick, it's the Kemba show, right? I know his price is going up, but you just watch this guy play. If you watch the game on Christmas, you can see it. You can see the confidence. He just looks awesome out there. So I think Kemba Walker, another good play tonight. I know his price is up, but I'll pay that $7K price tag.
Yeah, I think the 6'9" price tag on Kemba is fine. The issue I have is what will the minutes be, especially because they're gaining a couple guys back. If you tell me Kemba plays 40, just where do I sign? But at 30,
he's playing too good for them to change it up right now. This is the Kemba's team. I think they're going to let him go until he slows down, and maybe that's tonight, but I don't think it's going to be because the situation got worse, basically, if that makes any sense.
I just think you could see 30 to 35 and not 40, right?
Possible.
And that's the big issue I have. And I think he's a good play. I don't think he's better in tournaments because of the upside that he can have. But there is like another guard in the next game that we'll talk about that I just like way more than him. But the Timberwolves, you brought up good points. I don't know what's going to happen with the situation, but if these guys do play, yeah, it can be concerning. One thing to mention, DC, and like, let's say Ant Edwards plays. Well, if Ant Edwards is playing with all these guys, are you going to roster him? Because I think he's a good play. The issue I have is there are some guys that have came back from the COVID protocol and like they haven't been the same. And some guys, it's been fine. Like Trae Young played his 39 minutes last night. It wasn't a big deal. What would you do with Ant Edwards if he is in? Because that's a really big thing to talk about here.
I think he's missed 2 games. Like he obviously tested positive, but I think because he's coming back so quickly, that probably means, well, basically what it means, like the guys that come back after missing like 2 weeks, they were obviously sick because they missed a longer time than required. Like Edwards is getting back earlier than was even allowed previously. So you're not going to lose if you weren't sick, you're not going to lose any conditioning missing 4 days of basketball. I would say if anything, your legs would be more fresh after a little bit of a break, perhaps. So he would be a really interesting play. I really hadn't.
I think he missed way more than that. He hasn't played since the 15th. So.
Okay, I have that wrong then. Then that's my bad. But yeah, I don't know. If he's in there, I would expect him to kind of be his normal self.
Well, DC, why are we debating this when we have a doctor here that can figure it out for us? I mean, he knows everything about it. So, it's a good question because, like, I think Ant, like, if I told you a month ago, like, hey, Ant is playing next to all these guys, you'd be like, okay, like 7.8K he's guard and forward eligible, lots of ways to roster him. Like, I'm in, just sign me up. And I think he's a good play, but the problem I have is, and yeah, all these projections are just going to slam him in there, I think, if that's the case, but there is some reason to pause with him not playing since, December 15th. I mean, so Hoop, you're the guy that knows this all so well. So break it down for us. What are you doing with them? And what are you doing with all the Timberwolves here in this spot?
Well, I mean, it just really sounds like the overall sentiment from all these guys, the asymptomatic guys that are testing positive, that they don't have any symptoms, so they feel fine. I'm assuming the ones that are out with COVID have still been doing, exercising and staying in good shape. And I just find it, you haven't seen it with any other teams when these guys come back and it just seems like they're playing right away. I just think a lot of these guys are going to play tonight. The quote early on in the day was the coach said that all the guys coming back were highly unlikely to play tonight. I don't know. I find that hard to believe. I just think you're going to get more of these guys playing than not. And what DC said, like, they have a lot of guys actually when you look at it. Yeah. But, if the situation is just like it was last night with all these guys out, which I don't think it's going to end up being, the same dudes, Noel went off. Nathan Knight is like a stone lock on the slate, 3-2 on DK, 3-8 on FanDuel. We'd go back to Malik Beasley, Greg Monroe. Definitely would be interesting. So it's 100% dependent on the news. I mean, just we're speculating. I personally think more of these guys are going to play than the coach kind of let off earlier on in the day, but we'll see. It's an hour after lock. Might not have the news. I mean, this situation is what makes the slate pretty interesting. You got 3 games, I guess, that start before this. Like, what do you do? Do you wait for this? Because it's really slate changing news. Like, because if they all are out, you need like 3 Timberwolves probably in your lineup tonight. If a few of them play, you're probably not going to play any of them. So it's 100% dependent on the news. Kemba Walker, I mean, if you're playing tournaments, I would definitely get this guy in there. He's playing on a mission. I mean, it's just a massive hit to the ego where basically the coach says you're not playing at all until we find like a trade partner, whatever they're trying to do with him. Comes back and he's got a fire lit under his ass and he's playing like it. And you can just see it by the way he's playing. I mean, and it's not like they're just throwing him out there 25 minutes. He's playing 37, 38, 40 minutes. And he's playing hard. He's going after these rebounds. I mean, Kemba Walker has never been a guy like this. You look at the rebounding, 8, 9, 10 in the last 3 games, 8 assists, 12 assists in the last 2, 27 shots, 21 shots, 20 shots. He has the ball in his hand. He dictates what's happening in this offense. It's a good spot against the Timberwolves. If you're playing tournaments, I would say definitely get exposure to Kemba.
Yeah, so a couple things actually, Hoop. The NFL has changed from 10 days to 5 days on their protocol. So BigT is all probably happy about Carson Wentz because I think he'll make the cut then to be able to play on Sunday.
That's huge because I fired off. I put that. I don't know if you saw. I put a parlay in there that I really liked. Or not a parlay, a teaser, and I bet it. It was the Colts. It involved the Colts, so I was really pissed.
Yeah, so that's good for your bet. I do think I do worry more about the Kemba stuff because I think the minutes with some of the guys back. I mean, if he tell me he gets 40, I'm in. But if he gets like the 30 to 35, he still could get there. But again, there's a lot of good guards that you can go to on this slate. So it all just depends. I mean, it depends how you project his minutes out. I think that's kind of the best way to break it down. Are there any other Knicks? Like, is Julius Randle a good spend up hoop? Would you go to him on this slate? And obviously we know the Timberwolves news. We got to wait for the news to figure that out. And we'll get in the Discord chat to kind of break that all down.
FanDuel for Randle. He's like 8.7K. I'm not paying 10.5, but yeah, he's a good play. I think on FanDuel.
Yep.
Yeah. I do think that's a pretty good tag for him over there. So you have to consider it. This is one of the 8 o'clock games where there's a lot that lock at this time. And the next one is one that I really, really like. It's the Cavs and the Pelicans where we have a lot of news that could be flying in this game. Evan Mobley is questionable. And man, if Evan Mobley happens to be in, like, I think the betting the Cavs would be a great side to be in. I would want to be on that -3.5. I think that Kevin Love, if he starts, even though the minutes, like, he's not going to get 30 minutes, probably he's not going to get 35 minutes, but he's such an elite producer. I think he's still in play, even at the 6.7K price tag. But I really like Ricky Rubio at 6.4 because I think he's a guy that could absolutely smash, get like 35 to 36 minutes. And when he's played, I looked up at the start of the year, when he played with Darius Garland out, there were other guys in, right? Jared Allen was in. Also, Colin Sexton was in. He put up 44 fantasy points and he put up 36, and it was in 35 minutes played and 28 minutes played. And that's with Colin Sexton in. So, and it's against the Pelicans where, like, you can definitely beat them up with some guards. So I think this is a really great Ricky Rubio spot. I think he's one of the better guards on this slate. So I like them. And then the Pelicans have a lot of injury news coming their way. We got a doubtful Brandon Ingram, who I expect not to play. We have Josh Hart, who is 7.3K, but if there's no Ingram and Hart happens to play, even though he's questionable, I think he becomes in play at 7.3K, even though it feels like a tough price tag. And then Jonas Valanciunas on FanDuel is 7.7K, which just feels egregious. And there's Jokic on the slate, which obviously you can't play both of them. So there's a lot to like in this game. DC, the Cavs and the Pelicans feels like one of the games that you need a lot more injury news. And it's a game that you might be shoving a lot of guys into your lineup. So break it down for me. What are you doing here with this game?
Yeah, to me, I'm a self-admitted Ricky Rubio fan, but he seems like one of the best plays on this slate to me. Obviously, they lost Sexton early in the year, Garland out. Chetty Osman, another guy that can kind of take up some of that initiating the offense type of role, is also out. You look at this roster, they have nobody else that can create shots. It's guys like Markkanen, Dean Wade, like Kevin Love is even Mobley's not really a passer. Kevin Love is like the second best passer on this team. So it is going to be a ton of Ricky Rubio. You also look at, you can look at things like how teams defend pick and roll ball handlers. Pelicans are dead last in the league, and the offense is going to have to be a ton of that tonight. So, yeah, this looks like just a total smash spot to me for Rubio, and a guy that'll be he'll be in all my lineups. Markkanen, I think, is a little bit interesting given that how thin they are. I think could see him playing big minutes. 5,500 on FanDuel, I think, is an interesting play. And then to the Pelican side, yeah, I mean, obviously a lot depends on Josh Hart, right? I think where you might go, because Alexander Walker out as well. So they are really lacking in playmakers with Ingram out, Alexander Walker out. And if you take Hart out, now I think Devontae Graham would have to do a ton for this team. So a guy that I really haven't rostered much this year, but if you start removing these guys from the equation, he'll have to step up, I think, in a big way. So he's an interesting play. Valanciunas, like you said, on FanDuel, man, going at 7,700, I think is a great play. Obviously, only one center spot, and it's kind of precious, but he's certainly a great option there. So a lot to like in this game for me, clearly led by Ricky Rubio.
All right. Quick question. So we're arguing in the chat. People are saying that Ant Edwards, they're saying in the chat that he's out, and you click on Yahoo and you click on DK. Like, I don't know. I don't think that's 100% correct. Am I wrong about this though, guys? Like, do you see anything different on it? Cause I don't know. He could be out, but I don't know. Everyone keeps saying it. So I'm very confused.
And I haven't seen him ruled out or sources, but I'm not like on Twitter right now looking for it either. So
I don't know. I don't think
it's officially out.
The source I trust has him at questionable. So
yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm okay with it. Obviously, things can change on it. I don't trust the DK and the Yahoos. I trust other stuff. So that's just me, though. But we will see. That's just how I'm going about it right now. I'll look in the Discord. I'll look for that and see if I can find it. But Hoop, we should talk about like if Hart sits, because if Hart sits, well, do you see who's in this lineup? It's a bunch of guys that don't get usage. And you know who does get usage? Valanciunas gets usage, and he's a good FanDuel play. Devontae Graham could easily be a good play. So there's tons and tons of options, Hoop, that I think you can go to here. One of the better games in the slate, I think the Cavs too, like, again, they're going to be a team that I want to target. So I want to load up on these guys. Break it down for me though.
Yeah, I mean, to start with, like Rubio, he's been in the spot so many times this season, and he just typically gets it done. Just a really strong play. You look at the rest of the roster, I mean, they just don't have the guys that can facilitate. It's going to go all through him tonight. Good price tag on both sides. Phenomenal play. The rest of the Cavs, though, pretty risky. I mean, Markkanen, I think, is an okay play, but man, he's shown a low floor like all season, even in like good spots with guys out. So he scares me a little bit. Mobley, interesting in tournaments if he plays tonight. Pelican side, Valanciunas, he's 9.7 on DK, but he's 7.7 on FanDuel. That's a phenomenal price tag for him. Really good play. I think Garrett Temple, 3.6K on both sites. Garrett Temple has some upside. He's going to play a lot of minutes. They're going to need his scoring tonight. I think he's a good play. And then if Josh Hart's ruled out, he becomes a really good play. Same with Devontae Graham. Same thing. 6K on DK, 6.3 on FanDuel. I actually like him right now as is, but if Hart's out, I think he becomes a really, really strong play. So this game is an hour after lock. I don't know what sort of news we'll have. We have some good plays here. They could get better based on the news.
Yeah, situation could get better. It's definitely a really good spot to look at. So it's one of the better games on the slate for me. And of course, like we need all the Timberwolves news. We got some of it. It does look like it doesn't look like that's correct, but I don't know. That other source I have is kind of questioning it a bit, but I want to look into it a little bit more. But again,
with Edwards, that was from like this morning. I don't know. It just depends on it depends on if you believe what the coach said. I mean, the coach kind of made it sound like all those guys were unlikely to play that cleared the protocol. Is that true? Is it not? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, I also look at Basketball Monster too. They have him as questionable, but like Lloyd tweeted some stuff. I gotta look at it a little bit more. But again, the point we're getting at here is it's not just Edwards too, right? It's all the other guys. But and then on top of that, Hoop, right? Like there's guys in this game that we all just talked about, like Rubio. You gotta like Kevin Love. There's so much to like in this game. Devontae Graham, Valanciunas on FanDuel, where like again, you don't know which way some of this news is going to fall. And sometimes we know what we think news is going to go one way and then it goes the other way. So, and then sometimes we get surprise news out of nowhere. So that's why, again, I think backloading is super important, seeing what the starting lineups are going to be, because then that can just change everything. So, DC, do you think Cavs and Pelicans, is that your favorite game on the slate right now? Because it's my favorite game. I'm curious if you're still in agreement with me.
Yeah, it has my favorite overall play on the entire slate in it, so that obviously elevates it. And then some of the Pelicans guys, you could get 3 or 4 Pelicans guys that are really strong plays if Hart is out. And I like Hart himself if he's in. So yeah, certainly a game I'll have a lot of exposure to.
Yep, agree with you on that. Let's head on over to the Thunder and the Kings, which it's a brutal game. I think the Kings are just a full-on fade, but there are some Thunder guys to consider because even though those guys are young, Hoop, the COVID hit them, right? The COVID hit some of the Thunder. It finally happened. And you have to consider SGA, even at 9.5K. But there are better studs, I think, on the slate. But I think if you told me SGA was on the winning team at 9.5 against the Kings, I think he could get the job done. You could also play him on FanDuel. I also think Kenrich Williams could be an interesting cheap forward option here on this slate. And then I'm playing no Kings. So, Hoop, what do you think here about this Thunder and Kings game?
Yeah, I mean, just no Kings for me. Like you look at the roster, and so they seem like they're one of the first teams to get hit by all this shit. Now they're almost back to like full strength just looking at it. So definitely not a good situation for fantasy purposes. Josh Giddey, though, big contributor for the Thunder. Definitely like SGA. The 9.5 is a little rough. He's 9.2 on FanDuel. You can absorb it a little bit better, but undeniably he has big upside here. And I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if he was on the winner at the end of the night. I just don't know how much I'm going to be able to get to I think Lou Dort is a fine option as well. Not like a building block, but a guy to keep in your player pool. But that's probably it. I don't know. I just don't trust these other guys like Kenrich Williams, Isaiah Roby, Muscala, like guys like that. I can't trust on the slate right now. We're going to have good, stable value. So SGA is fine. Lou Dort's fine. That's it for me in this game.
Yeah, I think there's definitely plays that you can go to. DC, how about you? How are you handling this game?
SJ, one of my favorite plays on the slate. I think he's going to absolutely crush here. If you can look at like the numbers with him on the court and Giddey off, and they just go through the roof. It's rarely happened this year so far that SJ has been out there and Giddey hasn't. But against the Kings, this is a game where SGA, I'll be surprised if he doesn't lead the league in drives to the basket on the slate. Like that's what he does. He's going to attack the paint. Sacramento cannot defend it. I think he can just kind of take over this game on his own. I think he almost has to with who OKC has left. So I think SGA has a monster game here is what I'm hoping for SGA. And then the Thunder, man, they're really, really thin for the big men. Lost Robinson, Earl, Basley, Poku, Favors. They don't have much left. The two centers are Muscala and Isaiah Roby. And then you've got Kenrich Williams, who I think could maybe play small ball 5 in this game. And if that's the case at 3.7, he can, he's been playing 20 minutes a game anyway. He's not far off being a fantasy point per minute type guy. They're super thin. Hard guy to trust. I get it, but kind of put the puzzle together. It seems like he could be in for a lot of minutes and maybe some at the 5 as well, which if that happens, it's likely that he has a pretty strong game here.
All right. We got 640 watching. Hoop, we got 248 likes. We got time. What do we want to push this to? I think we got to get it to 3 bills, right? Let's get it to 300. It should be an easy push home. We had a lot of people join. We have a nice game to talk about. We can take our time on Warriors and Nuggets. Is that the right call here, Hoop?
I was going to say 350, but it's your ship. So if you want 3, we can meet in the middle, 325.
Let's meet in the middle at 325.
That's a good crowd for a Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday NBA slate. I mean, solid crowd. I mean, it's easy to get to 325. Very easy. And just so you know, I mean, Mangone has signed off without the plays of the day, so I'd recommend getting there.
Yeah, we have, and I think they did well throughout the show. But what happened is that as we added new people, there was some lagging going on with it. So I think they can push it home. I think the people will get it done for us. I think they're going to be good ones today. And again, it's the holiday season. We don't want to be the Grinch. We want to give out the plays. So that is the plan. But let's talk about this game. And we can talk about this one for a while because I think it's definitely a good game on the slate. Man, we got to talk about Jokic. DC, let's talk about these Denver Nuggets. And then on the opposite side, man, if you put Jokic in the utility, you got a late night pivot if you're in trouble. I mean, Steph Curry can light it up, and there's no Draymond Green. And I mean, I'm kind of worried about no Draymond Green there. I think it can mess some stuff up. So break it down for me. What are you doing here with the Warriors and the Nuggets?
Yeah, I think this becomes like a weirdly almost a much, much better matchup for Jokic with no Draymond, right? The quarterback of the whole defense. And Jokic is a guy that just like picks you apart with his like intelligent play, right? And you got to think the Warriors defense takes a hit with no Draymond out there. So Jokic's going to do his thing, right? I mean, he's going to put up like 60 to 80 fantasy points like he always does. And it's just a matter of his price tag and more importantly, those center spots, those utility spots that I want to save for cheap centers, point guards. So it's hard for me to get to Jokic. I expect him to have a monster game. And then I don't really when Jokic is in there, I don't really play any other Nuggets typically because it's Jokic or bust for me. So that's the Denver side of it for me. If you can fit Jokic, if he fits your construction, by all means, of course, he should have a huge game.
Yeah, I mean, Jokic, obviously a great play. Do you have any interest in some other guys here, DC? I think it's a good slate where the values at the 8:00 spot are a little bit better. Obviously missing Draymond Green, you can make arguments like, let's say Juan Toscano-Anderson started. I mean, I could consider him, I think, there in that spot, but I don't think he's going to for sure. I think Curry's a good spend up. I don't need to jam in like a Will Barton, and Aaron Gordon could have a good game. I mean, but I don't need to slam these guys into my lineups, but in GBPs, I don't hate it as an option of like mixing and matching, like maybe 2 guys from this game or even 3, because it is going to be a good game and I expect it to be pretty competitive.
The guy that I'm looking at from the Golden State side as a value play is Bielitsa, who kind of plays the Draymond Green role. It's kind of the same size, good passer, right? Can run the floor a little bit, can shoot a little bit, and is kind of Draymond's direct backup anyway. So if he started, I would have a lot of interest there. Less so if he's coming off the bench. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to have the roster spots, for this very last game ready to go to swap one of these guys. So probably won't have all that much exposure to this game myself.
All right, Hoop. Yeah, I mean, Jokic, one of the better plays in the slate. Definitely someone you want to get some exposure to. But Steph Curry, I mean, he's probably not going to be owned, and he could absolutely drop a monster game. Hoop, what do you think of Steph Curry as an interesting tournament option? What do you think of Jokic? And what do you think of this game as a whole?
This game as a whole, I'm a little confused why the Nuggets are 8-point underdogs, 7.5-point underdogs. I mean, yes, I understand that the Warriors have been playing great this year. I think a lot of that can be attributed to Draymond Green, though, like what he's done. I think him being out is huge. Yeah. So I agree. I think this is a competitive game. Already bet the Nuggets. I'm going to keep betting more. I mean, it's actually gone up. It was at 7. Now it's gone up to 8. I just think that's too good for me to pass up in a game where I think Jokic can do whatever the hell he wants. Like, who is going to slow him down on the Warriors side? Like, nobody. Great tournament play. If he's going to come in, so you look at anything, the raw points, he's the top raw points guy. He's going to be way lower owned than he should be tonight because center is so loaded. In tournaments, I'd find a way to get over the field on Jokic. If this is a competitive game, you know how it's competitive. It's Jokic, it's Steph Curry. Steph's easier to play on FanDuel. He's 10-4 on FanDuel. He's 11-5 on DK. But I think this is a competitive game. I want some pieces. Have some potential news too. Like Monty Morris is questionable. Aaron Gordon's questionable. If both those guys are out, I think Will Barton's a really, really strong play. He's going to play a ton of minutes. This game flow just suits him so well. So really like Will Barton either way. But if those guys are out, he becomes an even stronger play. Andrew Wiggins is under 6K on FanDuel. I mean, they're going to need him. That's part of the reason though I like the Nuggets in the spots. Like, man, they're going to be relying on some pretty shady characters tonight to keep things going when Steph's not out there or if Steph's not knocking down threes. So love the Nuggets in this game. Obviously love Jokic for sure. Will Barton, Steph Curry's good tournament play. I don't think many people will be playing him especially on DK. But should be a good competitive game.
Yep. Definitely should be a good competitive game. And we're at 324 likes. The people really pushed it home. So I got the faith. We're going to push it here right now. There'll be one more added in there. Hoop, did you hit the like yet? You got to hit the like on the
I did hit the like. We're at 326 now. So we're in good shape.
There you go. Hoop, you're just trying to get the last bucket in. So thank you from Hoop.
Taking the last shot.
Yep.
And it went in. We got it home. So that's good to see. DC, I guess we'll kick it off with you. It is worth mentioning we got the final countdown show coming up next. So be sure to tune in for that with JSU and all the people. I'm sure Big T will be there. It should be a fun time. DC, so let's go on over to you. Give me your play of the day.
I was tempted to go with Rubio, but I feel like he's too chalky. I feel like that's
so was I. He's too chalky. I don't think.
Yeah. So I'll pivot to another player who will have ownership, but I think will contend for the top scorer on the slate. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for OKC. I think he's going to have to carry this team. The matchup could not be any better. And I think that high price tag, 9,500 feels like a lot. So maybe we get, I'm hoping, lower ownership on SGA.
Yeah, that's a good one there. I like it. And of course, if things can change, obviously, if SGA might not be someone DC can slam into his lineups if we get to these value guards everywhere. So always remind the people about that. But Hoop, let's go over to you. Who do you got? Who is your play of the day?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the Pelicans. Like I said, I think this guy is a good play as is, but could get better if Josh Hart's ruled out. Garrett Temple. They're gonna need a scoring tonight without Brandon Ingram. He's cheap, 3.6K. He's going to play a lot of minutes. He'll be chucking when he's out there. So give me Garrett Temple as the Rich Parents play of the day.
All right, Garrett Temple it is for Hoop, and yeah, he definitely could get a nice little bump there. I don't think he's high owned, but I'm gonna go with Spencer Dinwiddie. Of course, if Beal's in there, that could definitely muddy some things up. If he is, I'll update it on the cash stream. So I'm on the DK cash chart, so be sure to check that out. But I like the spot for Spencer Dinwiddie. People think Miami could be a tough matchup for him, but I'm a huge Dinwiddie guy. Yeah, I think he's definitely in a really good spot. And other people will be like, oh, let me just play Rubio instead. And you might get some lower ownership on a guy like Dinwiddie. And it always depends on how the news shakes out of where the ownership ends up going. But I don't got too much else to say. Hoop, any final thoughts on this slate before we get on out of here? As the people push those likes, let's get it to 350. Let's push it home here as we close out the show and get that good mojo flowing. Hoop, final thoughts.
I mean, it's a news-oriented slate, really. I mean, a lot of guys that we are looking at or might be looking at, just dependent on what happened. And a lot of it revolves around the Timberwolves. I mean, it could be a slate where we're loading up on the Timberwolves, could be a slate where we're playing zero Timberwolves. But the value in that game would be too good to pass up if all those guys are out again. So what happened on this slate is 100% dependent on the Timberwolves situation.
All right, and we got news flowing in. Kem Birch out. Gary Trent will play. Pascal Siakam will play. So news is going to start coming in, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be important. It's definitely a big news-based slate, so be sure to check that out. You know who's going to help you get that home? The Final Countdown Show with JSU and the people, so be sure to check that out. Sign up now at Run Pure Sports. You get all the sports for one price, but that'll wrap it up for us. Thanks a lot for joining. For me, Mangone, Hoop, and DC. We will see you guys later.